What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. We've got a lot to talk about today because experts have been making some predictions about future price action on Bitcoin and other cryptos. But the problem is they're in polar opposite directions. We got almost no one saying we're just going to hover here at $50,000. Everyone is predicting we're going to have a massive breakout either to the upside and head towards $100,000, or we're going to crash back down below. And of course, here on the channel, we've talked about a potential move as low as 32,000, but there's some still predicting down to new lows. But what is going to actually happen? That's what really matters here. And I know that's what you guys clicked on this video for. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil it by telling you we don't know. And nobody does. That's the most honest response you're ever going to get from a crypto YouTuber. Nobody knows what's about to happen. We have guesses. We have reasons for those guesses. And we're going to present those to you, but ultimately it's your money and you've got to be the one to decide what you want to do with it. And hopefully you'll find something in this video that helps you make a better decision. But we will review those predictions. We will break into them, kind of crack them down, what's happening in them, and help you understand them better. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce my co-host for today. That's Mr. T Shroom from down there in Gainesville, Florida. And as you know, he is the most illustrious co-host in all of crypto YouTube. T Shroom, how are you doing today?
Well, Tim, I'm actually feeling a little bit more illustrious than yesterday. I've got on my polo, so it's T-Shroom plus a collar.
The Florida necklace. You
exactly. Got to rep the panhandle.
Is nice lit background. It's
excellent.
You're fitting the bill.
Some might call it illustrious. I know I would.
It is.
We've got a good quote here for you, Tim. Okay. What you put into life is what you get out of it. Now, who said this? It's going to surprise you. Clint Eastwood.
I don't know if I would have predicted that to be a Clint Eastwood quote.
What you put into life is what you get out of it.
Yeah. I would have predicted a quote from him would be, you got to pull the trigger 7 times if you want 7 bullets. That's a Clint Eastwood quote.
That is very
he probably
good.
never said.
Wait, did you just make that up?
I did. But
that was impressive. I will be honest
with you. Couldn't you see that being a quote from Clint Eastwood?
Of course. Yeah, that sounds like a movie line. Yeah, you should have written for Hollywood, man.
Who says I didn't? You know, I haven't gone into my deep background before the Investing Bros too much. I've told a little bit about it, but interesting quote there, T Shroom. I like it. Thank you, Clint Eastwood, for a banger of a quote right there. T Shroom. Let's check out the markets here really quickly. Let's take a look at Bitcoin's price action. Before I take a look at all of the others, we did prop up, we did something that T Shroom mentioned yesterday was going to be very, very big, and that was, I got to scroll and keep it over here. We did close a daily candle above $50,000. We had not done that. In fact, we had not closed a candle above 50 since all the way back here. This would have been back on December 27th. Of 2021. The next day, 28th, we closed all the way down here at 47.5. And even though we had a wick head back up to 48, we never got back above 50 after that daily close. So Bitcoin has done it, and this is going to be leading into our question today. And we'll get into more of this in the Q&A section. But what happens next? We're going to take a look at some predictions that experts will make. In fact, the truth is, teacher, we're probably going to go back into some TA during that chart section. Let's just take a look right now using Lux ALGO, see what potentially could be happening in the next couple of days, if not next couple of weeks. Let's start off right here with our oscillators. Now, here on the daily chart, we are still 100% overbought here on Bitcoin. So that is something to be aware of. The other thing you're going to notice here is we printed 2 different reversal triangles. Now, the first one didn't hit, and one of the reasons why, we've told you again, if you guys watch my video of the strategy, you don't want to just see one bearish signal to go bearish. You want to see a trifecta. Well, we're still seeing the oscillator move to the upside. The money flow is still moving positively. In fact, it's about to cross over the threshold. But we are seeing the oscillator keel over here a little bit. And the fact that we do have the RSI at 100% overbought and is currently sitting at about 80 and kind of making a rounding move, there's a potential chance we could be coming in and getting some bearishness. But honestly, I'm going to go ahead and just put it out here, T-Shroom. Even if we move to the downside, I think it would only be a temporary move to the downside. I don't think we're done with the $52,000 to potentially $53,000 range. You guys know that's a level that I've been talking about for a while. We have our nice little mark right here. We did wick this morning on Coinbase to about 52 almost 900. In fact, let's just go over the candle. The high was 52,890. So $10 away on Bitcoin from hitting 52.9, $110 from 53,000. I'm going to go ahead and put it out here, though. I don't think we're necessarily done just yet. So don't give up just there. Even though the daily chart has showed us a reversal, we still have room. And in fact, the RSI side, you could easily see it, even though it's overextended right now, get up a little higher, maybe even, or even dip down towards the 50 and get a lower high. But at the same time, you see a price action that goes higher and you get some bearish divergence. That didn't match up perfectly, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here. I'm looking at the daily chart, not necessarily screaming to we have to reverse. So let's go ahead and take a look here using the LuxAlgo indicators. And we got some bullishness actually with LuxAlgo indicators because our take profit, we did get that 2 days ago. We did have that killer momentum, I mean the cancellation momentum, but we just kind of retraced a little bit. You guys see the wick that came all the way back down to 48.3 after touching 50,000. Then we decided let's continue on. Yesterday was bullish. Now we have a new take profit level at the lowest, sitting at about $55,000. Up here at the top of it, sitting at 58,000. 57 has been a level that people have discussed for a while as well. I myself am more keen to the $53,000 level. I think if we break above that, could get pretty exciting. But for now, keep your eyes on that level. That would move us. We're currently sitting within our red resistance. That would send us up above it, which isn't impossible. But I would be surprised if we don't get some form of a pullback instead of going over top of the red reversal. We're not in a space right now where we're ready to fully explode. That's what happened way back here in October. And you can see the volume kind of came in confirming that. We talked about this yesterday. We still don't necessarily have a crazy amount of volume. And I know the highest volume is coming in via the ETFs. But if the price action is increasing the way it should, you should see the volume also increase on other exchanges as well. And that's just not what we're seeing at this moment. So reason to be bullish short term? Absolutely. But not necessarily reason to be overly bullish and think that if you don't have, that we're never going to see prices lower than this, you have to get all your dry powder in. That's not necessarily what we're seeing from the charts here. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. You do see on the 4-hour chart more of a rounding. It felt like almost a stable coin today. After exploding up here and getting close to that $53,000 level, we've traded sideways over the last 24 hours here, kind of hovering between that 52.6 and down to about 51.7. Let's see what we are looking at right here. Oscillator-wise. I don't need to zoom out here. We did get bearish divergence from our oscillator on the 4-hour chart. We also got a bearish momentum dot, and look what just popped up. Literally, as we were running the show, a red reversal popped up. Now, here's what I'll say. You do want to wait for the close of the candle to confirm this red reversal. So let's not make any long-term decisions right now. But if this were to hold, and if the candle on the 4-hour chart were to close at or below current levels, well, okay, it just went away again. But either way, we still have a red momentum dot anyways in play. We have our bearish divergence. That's our reversal indicators. Our oscillator is moving down with bearish momentum. And take a look at the money flow. It's not necessarily an egregious downward movement. It's been choppy here, but it is slightly ticking to the downside. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, let's wait for the close of the 4-hour candle. I think that closes... I don't know if it closes here in an hour or so. I think there might actually be a one that closes... did we just start this candle? Let's see. I'm not going to go back and look at it. I think this one might start. We have a long time. I think we have another almost 4 hours. I think this candle might have just opened up here 9 minutes ago. But if it holds, we would have that trifecta of bearish signals that could be or should be a reason to be more short-term bearish. Again, 4-hour chart meaning be bearish for the next couple of days, not necessarily bearish for the next couple of weeks. Although, again, it is still possible. I'm not going to rule out that we're going down from here. I'm just saying when I see this daily chart, the daily chart still shows signs of hope for now. If everything starts to keel over with this red reversal, that could change. But 4 hours starting to show that slow momentum. Let's take a look at the hourly chart and see what it's doing, and then we'll kind of wrap this one up here. Now, we're back down, bouncing off the Neo Cloud. We are sitting in a nice little order block that I think we're going to be able to spend some time. We go a little lower even, down to 51.2 and fill out a lot of these order blocks here. But take a look on our oscillator here. We do not have a red reversal since all the way back here. That has been outdated. Don't worry about that one. But we are seeing some things that are concerning from the oscillator perspective. First of all, we had a massive inflow. We had a lot of excessive buyers in the space. That's what this highlighted green is. You love to see it when you're bullish. But I told you guys in the video that we made that when this drops off, it drops off quickly. That shows you a very strong momentum in that direction. In this case, since this is buyers that dropped off and the oscillator is under a current bearish momentum and just kind of turned red right here, the hourly chart is kind of confirming right now we are in a bearish trend. So do not be surprised if the rest of this show / the rest of the night and into tomorrow morning is bearish. Let's see if the 4-hour chart confirms that, and then let's see if that starts to do a dent onto the daily chart. Now, again, we're going to talk about longer levels, and when we get into the news section here in a second, we're going to go into these levels. Just want to show them to you right off the bat. When we're talking about a potential crash or rally, there are people calling for new all-time highs to come pre-halving and potentially upwards of $120,000 before the end of 2024. Guys, that from right here, if this were to happen, 120K before 2024, that right there is an 133% increase. And I'm telling you right now, if we get to 120,000 before the end of 2024, can you only imagine what's going to happen in 2025? 2025 is when the fireworks are really going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to go ahead and predict it. If we get to over 100,000 before 2024 is over, I'm predicting that we shoot well above 200,000 for 2025, potentially start to push maybe towards that 300,000. Now, the other side of it, go back to my screen one more time, and we'll go ahead and keep moving on here into the news in just a second. Of course, we're talking about the bearish side. Some experts are predicting we could see a move to the downside. This is actually something we discussed even yesterday, that there still is this untapped $32,000 level. That's former 3 times, but yet we never retested it. And again, historically, Bitcoin usually falls at least 40% to the downside before the halving. Well, guess what? Where we currently are, or if we touch that 53, like I think, a 40% move to the downside would perfectly kiss this former resistance level, this untapped resistance, turn it into support at 32,000, technically like 31.9, give or take. But either way, around 32,000, and then we should be cleared for liftoff. Why am I saying that? Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened back here. Now, COVID kind of ruined it here a little bit, but if you guys remember back here, former resistance level in November of 18, we crashed to what became the bottom of the bear market, had explosive rally up, and then a 50% pullback to that level. COVID took us back down below, but COVID should not count. Same thing happened back, happened way back, not just in 2019, but also back in 2015, where, of course, we had this big level of resistance right here. Let's put this line here. Boom. Guess what? We exploded, had a nice explosive rally, only to pull back. I think this was the 40% pullback we were discussing. Let's take a look at that measurement real quickly. Oh, did not grab the tool correctly. Let's do this again. A nice 40%. It says 39, but 40% pullback. I didn't quite get the top right there. 40% pullback back down to untapped resistance, and then the bull market was allowed to take off. This would be the first time in the history of Bitcoin that we do not come back and retap former resistance if we never come back to 32. Again, this bull market could be special, so there's always got to be a first to break a trend. But right now, the trend is your friend until it ends, and the trend is you usually pull back, or you always pull back and retap that level. That's why I'm continuing to hold those levels. But I'm interested in hearing the reasoning from these experts here in just a couple of minutes. And I'm also interested in reading some chat on what you guys think the future price action is going to be. But with that said, T-Shroom, why don't you go ahead and take us away into our news? We'll dance back over to the charts when it's appropriate. And of course, towards the end of the show, we have a couple things to do, guys. Just so you know, we will be announcing the 2 winners of the $100 giveaway for hitting 8,000 subscribers. Thank you to every single one of you that are subscribed to the channel. If you're not, go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and hit that like button. We're also going to do some Q&A to look at some technical analysis of altcoins, because altcoins have been rallying today. I made a video earlier today about Cardano. You definitely want to check that out. Probably will skip Cardano TA for today if you guys request it, because I already made a video on it. But other altcoins, I'm more than happy to take a look at what they're doing, and we can speculate on future price action as well. But T-Shroom, let's go ahead and get into our news for the day.
Absolutely. Here's the video that you were just referring to, Tim.
Yep.
You guys are definitely not going to regret going and watching that. Even if you're not a fan of Cardano, you might learn a little something, or just catch some insights on how you could be trading it. So let's go ahead and hear from some experts. Now, experts are maybe not in the best graces with the public, but these are some experts that Tim and I actually value their opinion. So let's go ahead and get into it. Experts warn of deep retracement for Bitcoin price. Here's when. So jumping on in here, the first expert, Ari Paul, said, echoing cautious optimism, Ari Paul, CIO, founder of Block Tower Capital, acknowledged the strength in Bitcoin market stemming from consistent ETF inflows and developments in the Bitcoin infrastructure. However, Paul also warned of increasing speculative leverage, which could lead to a deeper retracement. Strength has largely come from consistent Bitcoin ETF inflows, also some fundamental bullishness around both Bitcoin infrastructure development and many altcoin roadmaps, Paul remarked. He observed signs of speculative excess with funding rates creeping higher, indicating rising risk of a retracement despite the ongoing medium-term bull trend. So that's expert number one. And then we've got another one here, taking a look at Julio Moreno. So he's warning demands for spot Bitcoin ETF. So that's waning demand. Adding to the discourse, Julio Moreno, head of research at Crypto Quant, presented another perspective focusing on the impact of ETF demands on Bitcoin's price. Launch of the spot Bitcoin ETF in the U.S. has significantly increased demand, with $9.5 billion of new money entering Bitcoin markets through ETFs since their inception on January 11th. This is positive for price gains as long as the current rate of Bitcoin demand from these ETFs continues. That's key, as long as it continues. If it doesn't, then things can change. But can be a risk if the demand eases or if we start to see some outflows from these ETFs. Of course, taking a look at the charts, we're not seeing outflows from ETFs. Looking at the data, we do not see outflows. We are seeing inflows, but that can change. That can absolutely change, and we're going to be seeing some headlines. We're going to be seeing some news here in just a second, right, that could be bringing in that change that goes ahead and convinces money managers to go ahead and hit the pause button on their processing of whether or not they should allocate to Bitcoin. So Tim, these two experts, Julio Moreno, and also Ari Paul. So these experts, they're basically kind of dancing around, the flows into ETFs. Now, what is your perspective on this, and kind of which way are you leaning?
Well, I want to start. We addressed this yesterday, and I saw some comments in the comment section yesterday where people were like, "Oh, Tim, don't you realize that there's millions of dollars and thousands of Bitcoins being bought up in ETFs? They have to go buy Bitcoin. Of course, it's going to increase the demand." I don't think the people listen to the entire video. And I want to remind everyone, I told you guys, we're going to beat this drum till you guys go deaf, but it's because people need to hear it. I'm sure there's at least 3 ears. That means one of you only has one ear. And those 3 ears need to hear this. 3 ears need to hear this. ETF purchases do not directly affect the price of Bitcoin. They indirectly affect it because if there's an increased demand of those ETFs, then the companies offering the ETFs have to go out and buy Bitcoin, right? So there's going to be some people out there that think that if you buy an ETF, you raise the price of Bitcoin. That's not true. We need to debunk that. The second thing that I don't think people understand is that just because a company, let's talk about BlackRock, that's the one everyone wants to throw out. It's the most popular, it's the most famous, it's the biggest ETF. If Bitcoin has to go out and buy Bitcoin, that should be good. That should directly affect the price of Bitcoin, correct? Not necessarily. In fact, the majority of what BlackRock has been purchased via over-the-counter, meaning it did not take place on an exchange, meaning it did not increase any demand or affect the price at all. It was literally like a backdoor deal, like if T-Shroom, instead of paying for my sticky note right here in an online transfer that is tracked by everyone, he just gave me $1 under the table. Yes, these are very expensive sticky notes. He gave me $1 under the table, and that transaction was never registered. So nothing was officially made that there's a movement of sticky notes. Well, the same thing, over-the-counter Bitcoin purchases have no effect on the increase of demand that would affect the price of Bitcoin. So that's my first thought right here. And I think when I read this article, T-Shroom, what they're kind of getting at is, yes, there's been an increase in demand happening, but that's starting to wane. And as it starts to wane, if people want to keep pushing up the price, I don't even know if they're saying that they think price is heading straight down from here. What they're actually saying is we could see a little bit more of a pump, But that next pump is not going to come from increased demand. It's going to come from leverage. And if we get a little too over leveraged, what historically has happened is those are the bubbles that burst where we do see a normal 20, 30, 40% pullback because we were too far over leveraged and it wasn't real long-term holders buying. Now, I do think people buying these ETFs, and a lot of people who have bought Bitcoin recently have bought and are thinking, I'm holding this Bitcoin long-term. But if you don't think there's some leverage out there currently in the market or yet to be played, you're kidding yourself. There absolutely is. Sustainable prices do not move up into the right this fast. They have normal pullbacks. And I'm going to go ahead and still put this out here. Maybe it's just my personal opinion, but I stick with it that the explosive rallying did not start here on January 10th when the ETF was approved. It happened way back on October 18th when the rumors of the ETF were approved. I'm not looking at that right now, so not going to really help you out here. My point is we have rallied from 26,000 to 52,000 too fast. Just way too fast. And it is normal to have pullbacks. I want to remind you, even if we pull back 32,000, in the grand scheme of things, that's still a higher low. So it's still a bullish trend. But it is normal for those things to happen. And that's, I think, the opinion that these experts are trying to get at is they're saying, hey, there is still a bubble that could be popped of being over leveraged. So be aware of it. They're not guaranteeing it necessarily, but they've been around the block a time or two, and they know that moves like this are pretty normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Will Clemente kind of chimes in and says, the craziest part of this BTC rally to me is that the futures market isn't even that over leveraged, which is exactly what you just pointed out, Tim. Not even close to the peak of 2021 levels. All-time highs feel like a stone toss away, right? from Will's perspective. So,
but here's what I will say. Click on the light blue one because I want to break. I was looking at this one earlier too because he makes a good point. It's not as over leveraged as it could be. There we go. All right, look at the dates here though. Look at the dates of what we're playing with. We don't need to see the levels of May or April of 2021. Remember, we had a big pullback in the fall of 2021. Look at the levels of where we have been over leveraged versus those tops. We are over leveraged enough for get a pullback. We're not talking about a massive 70, 80, 90% pullback on Bitcoin. Again, while there are people out there that think that could happen, there are the super bears of the world who think 3,000 is still possible. I do think there's enough leverage there that could be played that could pull us back 40%, back down to 32.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a lot of people, there could be some FUD. There could just be movement on the spot markets that go ahead and dump. There becomes a sell thesis. And we're going to be reading some headlines here in just a second that could, kind of open the door to a potential new sell thesis. Before we get to those headlines, I want to bring to your attention something that I mentioned today in the morning stream at 9 a.m. I go live every morning at 9 a.m. to bring you guys the news, similar to how I bring the news here on at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. 20 followers total on Investing Bros officially started this account yesterday, and everybody who has followed is about to get refollowed live right here. You can see it. It's happening. And this, you are seeing the pudding of which there is much proof. Boom, boom, boom. Now, this is only available until midnight to get a free follow from the Investing Bros official account. Make sure you go to the official account, bros. Okay, don't be messing around. There are 2 fake accounts, so just make sure you go this one. It's not hard. Instagram has the scarcity on the handle, so this is the only one. Make sure it's spelled correctly and all of that fun stuff. VeChain, freaking killing up as much as 58% today. It has had a retracement. It's only up 27.8%, and everybody's asking why. Because this altcoin has been about as dormant as you can get. It's been very sleepy, not very interesting, and that all changed today. The VeChain network has reached a major milestone, which might have added to the positivity surrounding the blockchain. Okay, so they have issued an announcement over at VeChain, and it has to do with interoperability, account abstraction, AA they're calling it, is now live, opening up a whole new world for VeChain. Not only does AA make interoperability seamless, but it also unlocks programmable smart contract wallets for a better user experience and improved security. So, VeChain is not a name that we talk about very much. Was VeChain on our list for our portfolio that we set up a couple weeks ago?
I think it made it. I think it made it into the 1% category. It might have slipped into the 2%, but it was definitely up there.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, we're not going to go too much further into that. I don't have a huge bag of VeChain, and I don't think you do, Tim, either. But if you are, congratulations. Your patience has paid off for sure. And what is kind of a meta lesson from this is that folks get jealous, right? You look around, especially if you look at the crypto bubbles every day, which I do, right? Nothing wrong with looking at it, but you might see, Luna C. I got to look into that. And you waste a bunch of time like researching it. I guess researching is probably not a waste of time, but you get sidetracked, right? Whereas if you have strong conviction in, say, a coin like Bitcoin or Cardano or Ethereum or something like this, but you see like coins popping off, like VeChain today is a great example, right? A seasoned trader like myself, not to be braggadocious or whatever, right? But that doesn't faze me. Earlier in my trading and investing career, I might have seen that and been like, oh man, I'm missing out. I got to go buy some of that right now because that's what's going to make me rich, right? That's what's going to make me a millionaire. It's also a great way to lose money consistently because this moment for VeChain is great. And I'm sitting here, I cheer them on, right? But a lot of folks are going to be buying the tops of and chasing, this price higher when it really isn't going to go much higher in the short term. Of course, that's not necessarily a prediction. That's kind of true with all altcoin pops that just happen randomly and they come back down. Now, could this interoperability innovation that VeChain team has created, could that be the next big thing? It could. It's possible, right? But more than likely, that technology is not yet tested, but the investment community is very excited to invest in VeChain today, and that's why we see it on the chart. So when you think about that meta lesson, Tim, do you ever find yourself kind of biting your knuckle, being like, man, I wish I'd bought VeChain?
No, not VeChain specifically. There's definitely others that get me there. I will say from the chart perspective, take a look with me here, T-Shroom. I'm not even turning on Lux ALGO just yet, but look at what we have done here over the last day. Now, this was a zone we had highlighted here in this box. We had a lower level of resistance really giving us problems at 3.3 cents. A higher level that we rejected on back here in December. It was the support level from the fall back in February of 2024. That, of course, being down at 3.9 cents. We broke through there pretty heavily today. Now, this is one, I think it would be interesting and would make a lot of sense to pull back at least back down to 3.9 cents, but you don't necessarily have to because this wasn't like strong, crazy resistance. Again, just one level of resistance. The really strong level of resistance sitting here at 3.3. We broke above, came back down, retested the support briefly, broke even lower, similar to like what XRP did with the 55-cent range. So it kind of has killed it. I don't think it has to pull back, but I think it could. And, when I look at this T-Shroom and look how far we are even from the 0.236 level. I mean, when we're talking about all-time highs on VeChain back here in April of 21, all the way up at 28 cents. And right now we're talking about a 4-cent level. If VeChain's going to do something special, which I think it could, an argument could be made that despite the massive rally that we've had over the last 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, I mean, it goes back to maybe early next week, VeChain might still be in the category of the most overextended, most oversold altcoin. I mean, even right now, let's just pretend we could predict with perfection we're going to match previous all-time high. Going back to a previous all-time high would be more than a 6x. That's a better investment than more than likely what you're going to get from Bitcoin, even if you bought Bitcoin at the very bottom at 15,000 up to where its high is going to be. So VeChain is one. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to advocate it should be a massive part of your portfolio. But if you do not have VeChain, anywhere between where we currently are and down here to 3.8, 3.9 cents, I think is a good buy for the long haul. I think it'll go to new highs. Someone asked me today what my long-term price prediction is. I have not done the analysis I need to do with tokenomics, with partnerships they have and everything else to give you a firm long-term price prediction. But let's just pretend it double tops at former all-time high. A 6x is nothing to scoff at. That's pretty cool. VeChain might actually be a coin worth taking a look at in the next couple of days, weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I wanted to find that video that we made that kind of broke down our... Oh, here it is. I think this is it. Is this it, Tim? It says what we're buying. I think this is from 12 days ago.
Yeah.
So this was the one that we broke down our portfolio. Or kind of like an ideal portfolio in a sense. And VeChain did get 2% allocation. So just going back and looking at that, If you guys want to,
it's a very secure, diversified portfolio. So everyone go in and watch that video. Choose the ones you like. Choose the ones you don't like. Add the ones you want. Take out the ones you don't like. But it gives you. You kind of watch me and T-Shirt wrestle through security. Like we want to have safe investments, but also diversify amongst some of the. I don't even call them too risky, but more risky ones. Like your Bitcoin and Ethereum's, these are your safe picks, right? Just those are safe. Outside of those two, there is some great coins out there that I feel secure with, but they're technically on the more risky side. You want to make sure you're diversified. So we give you a great example of what a good, balanced, diversified portfolio could look like for someone who's maybe in year 1 or 2 of their crypto investing.
Yeah, and I dropped the link in the chat, and I'll be in the live chat, so you guys can go check that out. The link to that portfolio breakdown that we did just a little while ago. All right, well, moving on here, let's go ahead and get into. So we talked a little. The next piece of news. So we talked about what is it going to take, right, for the spot market to lose the buy thesis that exists right now, because obviously price is going up and to the right, and there are clearly a lot of buyers. Or at least more buyers than sellers, right, making the bid for Bitcoin go higher. So what is something that could have put a cold blanket on this, a wet blanket, and damper this down and turn bulls into bears? Well, here is a headline that we got today. Is a quote from not Jerome Powell, but a Fed board member. Said Federal Reserve governor says, "I don't want banks holding large amounts of crypto ETFs." So this has sent Twitter scrambling a bit, trying to interpret this. What could this mean? Again, it's not Jerome Powell saying this; is just a Reserve governor. However, it does start to kind of spring up as the Fed, an official Fed governor actually coming out and saying something negative about cryptocurrency, because up until now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, they basically have only commented on whether CBDCs and kind of what their role would be in that. But correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I don't think that they've really issued any kind of comment, and this would be the first kind of breaking of that trend.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't even know who this guy is. I don't know the duties of the Federal Reserve governor. I don't know what his power is. I don't know if this is just him vocalizing. I mean, we could make an article about Tim saying he would like for banks to hold a large amount of crypto ETFs. Right. I'm sure his word means more than mine, but how much more? I don't know. Ultimately, he's saying this, T-Shroom, because he is the Federal Reserve. What is the job of the Federal Reserve? To balance and create and manage the monetary policy of the U.S. dollar. What does the U.S. dollar potentially threaten by? Well, not just the BRICS nations, it's also cryptocurrency. So it's not really out of pocket for him to be anti-crypto or scared of crypto and recommend, hey, don't I like my job here at the Fed. Please don't do things that would jeopardize my job, that nobody knows what I actually do, possibly including myself. So banks, I'm going to recommend don't hold too much of this crypto ETF stuff.
For sure. Well, this is the guy. It's Fed Waller who said this, okay. And my take on this is that the Fed is. It's always interesting when it's one of the governors and not Jerome that says something, because to me it always seems like a probe and kind of a test. It's like what does the retail say if we say this? What is the investment class? Wall Street. What do they say if we say this? What does Washington say? What is Politico? What would their comments be if we say this? And so I don't know that. When I read this, I don't know that it's earth-shattering. It's definitely not making the hair stand up on my back. I'm not afraid of this, but it does kind of seem to me to be a little bit of a probe to try to fetch a little bit of information on what the public thinks about banks holding a lot of cryptocurrency, because it is a change, right? Yeah. Over the last 10 years, there's been like a parabolic increase in the amount of cryptocurrencies now that banks have exposure to, right? But people like Tim and I, we're sitting here like, it's not real. It's becoming quickly not how much you invest in Bitcoin that you can afford to lose. It's how much bonds and US dollars can you hold and afford to lose, right? It's not there yet, right? But it's quickly becoming that. And I think the Fed's trying to get ahead of this and have a soundbite out there, have a quote out there, so that they can at least turn around and say, hey, we told you so, if at some point in the future, things go south with crypto. Well, jumping on over, we've got a similar outcome here on Twitter. We've got a similar quotation This is from Eric Buchanan saying U.S. Bank left off key Bitcoin ETF roles, are pushing SEC to tweak guidance around holding digital assets. Okay, a bank grade GP coalition sent SEC letter asking them to exclude ETFs from broad community umbrella. They want a piece of the action, and I don't blame them. It isn't fair. So take a look at this. Powerful interest groups are pushing the Securities and Exchange Commission to tweak accounting guidance that makes it more expensive for U.S. banks to hold digital assets for their customers. Full stop. That's about it. That's all you need to know. But if you look down here, it actually lists the organizations. These are lobbyist groups: Bank Policy Institute, American Bankers Association, Securities Industry and Financial Market Association, all of Gary and Elizabeth Warren's best buddies, Financial Services Forum. They're the ones who issued this letter. So the Fed and the interest groups are kind of in lockstep today, right? By the Fed, I mean Fed Waller, with that comment that we just covered. Their concern is banks holding Bitcoin. There is banks holding, potentially Ethereum and other cryptocurrency. So it is a concern. I see where they're coming from, right? It is a new thing, and when there's new things, perks up the ears of regulators. Obviously, Tim and I, we would take the opposite position on this: is that banks don't hold enough crypto. We believe in crypto more than we believe in fiat, and banks are underexposed, right? It makes sense that the bankers associations are getting involved here and trying to pump the brakes on crypto adoption by institutions. So, Tim, what are your thoughts here? I mean, is this surprising to you? Is this something that you think is reaching a point where it might actually have an effect, that Congress might actually pass legislation to restrict banks and what they can hold and what they can't hold?
I mean, again, no, I don't think that it's going to mean anything. I don't think Congress will make any type of decision on that. Also, I think that the Congress could make steps that far. And by the way, sorry, I'm distracted by a somewhat breaking. I mean, the article's like 6 hours old, but I can't decipher it's true or not.
Want to go to your screen?
Have you seen this stuff? Well, you can. And I'm getting distracted from your question, but I saw someone comment on it in chat. And there is an article, but I'm reading through it, and I cannot tell if it's satirical, like if it's being satirical or not. Elizabeth Warren pivots on Bitcoin, honors Nakamoto with flag over Capitol, right? So I'm reading through it, and it talks about this thing that she signed, the flag of the United States. Okay, anyway, and there's pictures of it, but it says down here, hold on, where is it?
This is fascinating.
Bitcoin Magazine and PubKey encourages Bitcoiners to take a polite note of this change of heart by reaching out to Warren's office directly, as well as tagging her ex, formerly Twitter handle, and thanking her for championing Satoshi Nakamoto and recognizing him as the hero he is. Is this like someone in chat who has maybe seen this before? I think Eric Wallen, and it would be Eric Wallen that would point this out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how real is this? I think it is a joke of. I don't think that Elizabeth Warren has changed her tune. But what is this? I'm not quite sure. In the last 5 minutes I've been reading this, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Mm-hmm. What do you think, T-Shroom?
Well, what is the website that you're reading that from?
So the website is NASDAQ.
Yeah.
It's NASDAQ.com, but it copied it from Bitcoin Magazine.
Right.
They're giving the Bitcoin Magazine the credit for it.
Yeah.
It's written by Mark Goodwin for Bitcoin Magazine.
It looks too.
I don't know.
It's not immediately obvious to me that this is a joke, and I don't think that Bitcoin Magazine, like, there's no satire word anywhere. It's culture, right? I think that this could potentially be breaking on a pivot from Elizabeth Warren. I think that I take this at surface value, but but this is Tim. This is like, if the Elizabeth Warren chart goes like this towards Bitcoin, is very consistent. This is like a very small tick up, and then we are anticipating a continued reversal to the downside, right? So if there's another data point where Elizabeth Warren is pivoting, then it's got my ears. But right now, this is just a politician flip-flopping, and I'm not surprised, right?
Eric Wallen says he said, I think it's real. She didn't know she was signing it. I think there's a potential if a bunch of papers were just put in front of her to sign this, that someone trolled her and just slipped this in here. But let's go back to my screen here. Let's read it. Because I think this looks real. The flag of the United States of America, this is certified. The accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Satoshi Nakamoto for the 15th anniversary of Bitcoin, the first truly inclusive financial system that is providing new economic freedoms to populations previously ignored by both public and private institutions. Americans are forever grateful. And again, the fact that the end of the article urges people to reach out to her office directly and tag her on Twitter, I lean towards that same thought, Eric Wallen. If this is real, and that's a big if, there's probably a very good chance that she did not know what she was signing, and this is the great work of some crypto trolls.
Oh, but this would be a first, because I don't think there's ever been a U.S. senator who's signed a document that they didn't fully read. Right?
True. Yeah. This is a major breach in American politics. So...
All right. Maybe you caught the sarcasm. Maybe you didn't. That's okay, because it's time for question and answer. But we want to get to the factoid before we get there.
You have to do the factoid.
Let's get to that factoid of the day, which is brought to you by Decrypted.tax. Tax season is upon us. We're here. Don't keep putting it off. Turn to the pros over at Decrypted.tax for your free 60-minute consultation. Everything to gain, nothing to lose. Tim and I trust Decrypted.tax with our business and personal taxes. But if you start asking about those information from that, Ernest is going to tell us, and then we're not going to be bros anymore. But all jokes aside, head over to Decrypted.tax today and sign up and get that free. Yes, free 60-minute consultation.
Did you say people are going to ask him for our personal tax information?
Right. But if they do, we're not going to be bros anymore.
Okay.
With whoever asked. All right, Tim, speaking of asking.
I make a habit of that. Whenever I go to my local CPA, I always ask, tell me about other people's taxes.
Yeah. Tell me the specifics, What are some good EIN numbers that are going across your desk?
Have you cheated on anyone's taxes here? Can you tell me about them? Maybe give me their social security number.
Oh, Tim, after the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, what country hosts the world's second tallest building? Is it Malaysia? Is it China, USA, or is it Saudi Arabia? Tim, let us know. And people in the chat, let us know.
That's a hard one.
Is it?
I would have thought Japan would be in there too, because Japan's got some big buildings.
Yeah.
I lean towards China because I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good soundboard to clip out. I leans towards China.
I feel like China would definitely have some crazy. Oh, yeah, America has some tall ones as well. My gut says it's either China or US, but I'm going with China. I'm going to go with China. And I'm trying to think if there's a reason. I know there's sometimes the elf has a reason for things. I'm trying to think if there's any reason in recent news.
Look at him swinging his legs down there. Just as happy as a cucumber. All right, Tim.
You know what? I'm flipping last second to America. Go USA. Go USA.
Hey, you can't blame him for being patriotic. Yeah. Gia S said, okay, had to look this one up. Won't tell Tim yet. Blackie Chan said B. So we don't have a ton of guesses. Dave Digital said USA. And the Dusty Hunt.
Anytime you're in agreement with Dave Digital, you're in trouble.
But the answer is A, Malaysia.
It's good. All right, we were all wrong.
Everybody was wrong.
Malaysia.
So Kuala Lumpur, which is actually at the top of my list of cities to visit. I really want to go there. It is this building here, the Merdeka 118. So if you go there, send us a photograph, tag us on X, tag us on Instagram.
No other building around it is even anywhere close. I think they literally built this building solely for the purpose of saying they had the second tallest building in the world.
For sure. Now Tim, not to throw you under the bus here, but you said Japan had some tall buildings. According to this Wikipedia page, there's not a Japanese flag on here until
just Tokyo. I would have thought there's some pretty impressive buildings in Tokyo.
Well, so they do have impressive buildings, but I believe that Japan is like earthquake, like center of the world.
Fair,
so I think they're probably not building a ton of.
I don't know. They got some good engineering over there. Maybe they made a earthquake-proof building.
Far be it from me to say anything negative about Japanese engineering, and especially civil engineering. Yeah. I would never say anything about that. They really do have excellent engineering.
Yeah.
Bros, let us know in the chat what are some tickers you want us to take a look at. Why don't we start off with Caspa, Tim? Let's go take a look up at Caspa.
Before we take a look at Caspa, we do to announce the winners of the giveaway.
True.
We have 2 winners. Of course, you guys know every time we hit a new 1,000 subscriber mark, we're doing a $100 giveaway. And because the winner of the first giveaway never came and claimed it, we do need to announce 2 different names. Now, I will say, one of the names I have seen here in chat today, and he's going to be very excited. I'm giving away it's a he. The other one, I have no idea if it's a male or female. Also, to be fair, I don't know if the first was a male or female. I'm just going off of statistics. That there's the probability of a name that's neutral in the crypto world statistically should be male. So technically both of these should be male statistically, but you never know. And I'm delaying a lot as I read these names. I'm going to read the one that I have not seen their name in chat, but they need to claim this, and we'll make a comment section. We'll tag you guys. The first winner of $100 is Stay Lifted TX.
Let's go.
But Stay Lifted. Are you a male or female? Doesn't matter. You have $100. But you do have to get into contact with me or T-Shroom to receive that set $100. Congratulations to you. The second person who is absolutely in chat and has commented here recently, T-Shroom, is Mr. or Mrs. Again, we're not really sure. We don't know. Blackie Chan 577 is the second winner of the $100. You got to get into contact with us. But again, you're here in chat, so make sure to, if you're not already in the Discord, get in the Discord, comment at us. We will make sure to get your information. Stay Lifted TX. If you see this later, get a hold of us one way or another. Melifos is assuming genders, Tim. I'm not assuming genders. I'm making educated guesses based off of YouTube statistics.
Part of the problem. You need to
the guy on the left. Goodness gracious.
I love it.
Well, let's do this. Let's get in here. Go ahead and start dropping some questions. So, by the way, we don't have to only look at TA. If you guys have coins you want to do some TA on, we can do that. Go ahead and start dropping your questions. We are entering into Q&A section to wrap out the last 15 minutes of the show or so. T-Shroom said, let's start off with good old Caspa. We did a little Caspa yesterday, and it's kind of sitting in a similar spot that it was.
Yep.
Let's take a look here again. Trading sideways here. Can't really break through that $15 mark. Let's turn on Lux ALGO. Let's see what is happening here. Again, we're moving sideways here, so even if we prop back up, I still think the 14.9, 15 cent, I say dollar, I meant cent, region is going to prove to be pretty strong resistance. Currently under a sell order with the take profit. Lowest level down here to the bottom of the Neo Cloud sitting around 12 cents. Bottom level coming back down, which actually makes a lot of sense. To come back down to this lower level, come back and retap this white line here at 11 cents. Why am I saying that? Let's turn this off. Of course, after you break resistance, what have we said so much here more recently on the show? Untapped resistance often gets revisited. So that could be interesting. Let's take a look at the fixed range volume profile in this time and see if we see anything of consequence. We might be in a point of control area. Nope, not. All right, so point of control is down here towards 12 cents, but we are looking. I don't know why I have this green dotted line. I cannot remember what I put this here for. Maybe at one point it was a fixed range volume point of control or a value area high or low. It is no longer at this time, but I like where that green line is right there on 1140. Let's take a look at some other things here. Let's look at our oscillators. Currently, we are bearish. Money flow is flowing sideways with the bearish momentum dot. We did have a red reversal way back here, but that one's kind of out of play here. We've had bullishness since then. So not necessarily overwhelmingly strong. We do have a green reversal dot coming in here, but unless we see money flow go positive and the oscillator go positive as well, that reversal indicator could be one just to ignore simply. Let's take a look back at these ones as well. Yeah, I like this range maybe coming back down towards the lower levels here. I do have order blocks on. Let's see where the most significant order blocks are sitting. There's one definitely up here. No, we cleared that one out. I don't know. I mean, like there's one up here, 14, I guess. Yeah, if we rally back up. But the most significant order blocks are actually come way down, back down to 9 cents. Of course, these are order blocks back here a couple weeks ago. Ooh, what was that? That was fun.
I was looking at the people who've been following us on Instagram, and somebody had a video that popped up really quickly. So,
rookie move, T-Shirt. Rookie move.
And
big order block coming in down at 9 cents. 9 cents is still the level. And again, I'm still going to let you guys know I still think there's an outside chance we revisit this red line down here and we get below 7 cents again in the long-term future. But that doesn't mean we can't have a little bit of a pop up first. But we are seeing a lot of the signs suggest Yeah, we're hitting a take profit on the daily. There's not a lot screaming that there's room to the upside. Oscillators are super high, overextended. Maybe we get some bearish divergence with a little bit of pull up here, but look at this. I mean, if I'm trading solely on the daily chart, this is the trifecta here of a sell Caspa. Red reversal, bearish momentum, money flow starting to get negative once again. You don't love to see that on the daily chart if you're a Caspa fan. Doesn't mean long term we don't have a lot of room to the upside, just short term. A little bit more of a bear here on Caspa.
Yep.
Let's go back into chat. Roger Flores says XRP is finally moving. Yeah, it's about time.
Is it?
And I say this. Yeah, it's up at 56 cents. I don't hate XRP. Remember, we had that whole conversation, guys. Tim does not hate XRP. It does seem like that sometimes, though. It is coming back up into that level that has been significant support or resistance based off where we're getting into it. But there's positivity here on the daily chart for XRP. Money flow moving sideways as we get up to the middle, but technically still going to the upside. The RSI is getting there's room to flow on the RSI. I think XRP could keep on pumping. Big order block up at 61. Take profit sitting at lower end here at 50 or 60 cents. Could prop up all the way to 67. That'd be a little much for my taste here. Let's see what the 4 hours saying. 4 hours saying that it is slightly overbought. We are hitting our take profit. So don't be surprised. Similar to things we were talking about, like with Bitcoin, for example, get a small pullback over the next couple of days. Don't expect it to just run up and away. It's indecision, though. Money flow going positive. Bearish divergence, but we did just flash back green. Here I'll say, I mean, Lux Algo wise, I'm actually not necessarily in a trade wise situation that bearish in XRP. We're still talking about a coin that is stifled. I mean, to be honest with you guys, the only reason we're having a good rally right now is because it was doing nothing and falling to the downside here when it really should have been rallying here. On the macro, you're still taking a look here at this symmetrical triangle pattern, this yellow line of resistance we cannot break above. Wake me up when we break through that yellow line, and let's see the confidence and the situation surrounding it to decide if I want to flip back to being bullish on XRP. But at the moment, even if we have a small rally on it, I'm still not feeling overwhelmingly strong about its long-term future being, again, I feel good about it rallying. I just don't feel good about it being like one of the top moving coins. And I think that XRP's got a lot of roadblocks in the way to be one of the top coins. I just don't see it being even a top 5 coin. Borderline, I think it might struggle to maintain top 10 status. It's on that fringe for me. So
yeah. Now,
sorry about it.
I've been charting XRP for a little bit. So yes, there is this downtrending line of resistance now that has not even ever been penetrated for XRP. It's gotta get some moves, gotta get some momentum going. What I will say though is if you zoom down to the 4 hour, there's some optimism to be had because if you take a look here, XRP has been able to get up above what I was tracking, which is this downtrending line of what was resistance, now very clearly flipped into support, confirmed 1, 2, 3.
Could I ask you, T-Shirt, what made you draw that line that way?
It's a good question. It's a now let me go out to the daily. We're kind of getting crazy here, but I drew it based off of these highs.
Daily chart.
So this high here on the daily chart, these highs, and then I believe this does continue to be historically significant. Not too much back here. Maybe,
yeah,
maybe a little bit.
I struggle to see the significance of that trend line. When in fact, I think a more legitimate trend line would be, go back to my screen, potentially saying, all right, let's forget this little spike we had, and let's just go back to the second bounce because this is a lot of momentum. Let's do it like this. And you can almost make an argument for that being a trend line, in which case that actually makes it slightly harder than the first one I had, which goes all the way to the top here and didn't touch this wick. We kind of let that wick blast through, but touches a couple other wicks here. Either way, I'm not sure the significance of the trend line that you had drawn there, that second one that you said we broke above.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat significant. I don't think the traders are sitting there holding their breath on that specific line, but it is nice to see for XRP holders, of which I am not, it is nice to see, XRP get up above some levels that it had broken down that were support at one point. Tim, I don't know if you saw this. Take a look at the chat and see kind of another good coin to cover, but did you know that Bitcoin is at all-time highs as measured against the yen, the Japanese yen? Take a look at this right here. If
Look
you
at
take
that.
so Bitcoin to the Japanese yen, all-time highs put in today. So very, very exciting. I have to go up to the monthly chart to really get a good look at this, but last time we were at these levels was November 1st,
And I
2021.
mean, look at the Bollinger Bands. It wasn't crazy constriction, but it constricted a little bit, and now is it stretching that Bollinger Band. Now that it's volatility, it could fall, but I think this has a lot more to do with the Japanese yen being weak than it
100%.
does. Bitcoin's doing well, but Japanese yen's just doing very poorly. It's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of which, tell me what you think about this, Tim.
Yeah.
Head and shoulders on the Dixie, question mark, right here. What do you think about that? What do you think about this call here? I'll get out of the monthly, go to the weekly.
Yeah, let's go to the weekly. The weekly would be a little more clear. If it
B,
continues rounding over, yeah.
yeah.
That's in the perfect level to have a right shoulder being built if it pulls back. Now, if it keeps going to the upside, remember, Bitcoin was in a perfect head and shoulders pattern as well back in October, and then the bullishness just got out of control, and then it canceled out the head and shoulders pattern.
Yeah.
But
also a bit of an
if we
ascending
peel over, that's
wedge
good.
here as well. So, you know, if these two bearish, and then for those of you who don't know what a head and shoulders, it's kind of like this, you know. This is not an inverse head and shoulders. This would be a straight up head and shoulders, and these usually
crypto.
And these are two bearish patterns. So the head and shoulders, this usually breaks to the downside, and then this wedge here, this ascending wedge, also is historically probably about 70% likely to break to the downside. Now, why do we care about this? What is the Dixie? Is the dollar? It's essentially the dollar strength index. So whenever this goes up, in theory, historically, Bitcoin has gone down. When this goes down, Bitcoin goes up because the dollar is becoming weaker or stronger and can buy less or more Bitcoin.
Very cool. You know, I've always noticed we have a different Dixie chart, but I think you use the TVC one. I think I use the Capital Com the ones because mine says 103, yours says 104. Either way, they're close enough. That let's take a look at the Dixie. Yeah, mine says 103.9. So it's 103.9. So it's not too far off, but it's different for sure. Let's take a look at the strength of the dollar using some other tools here. Now, there is still some room to the upside here. Not only do we have a take profit and red reversal up here, but we have order blocks up at 105 and even up towards 106. Coming over to the oscillator here too. Yes, we've recently had bearish divergence with a bearish reversal dot, but look at the money flow still positive, heading up towards that threshold. So these reversal signals have not been calling it well. And again, because you want to wait for the trifecta. We're not overextending the RSI, didn't even touch 70. So even though we're looking at that saying we could kind of topple over and create that right shoulder, on the daily chart, there technically is room for the Dixie to keep on climbing to the upside. So it's not the worst thing in the world too, though, because Bitcoin and the Dixie have been climbing up the last couple of days. They've been in unison, not fighting against each other.
Hey,
let's
Tim,
do this. Let's
Tim, I'm sorry, man. If you felt like I really threw you under the bus with that factoid and kind of rubbing it in that you guessed Japan, you don't have to call my trend lines insignificant. It's okay.
I love when the comments try to turn us against each other. We're gonna have a war just to entertain.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
Smash my keyboard.
You think I don't know anything about Japan? Well, you don't know anything about the charts, T-Shroom.
Investing Bros gets heated.
All right, let's do this. One more coin that you guys want to see TA on, and we'll call it a day today. Dave Tigel says, tell why that view sucks. That's a new segment. Tim reviews T-Shroom's takes. And vice versa. Oh, 24. You're going to get four more of them.
We got a couple more to follow here.
Hey, a mellow fellow. Hey. Simply Snyder, that's Gia S. I recognize some of those faces and names. Love it. All right. Last one we're going to do here. I saw someone say Polygon, so we're going to take a look at Matic. Matic did hit a level we talked about. I remember discussing 90 cents being significant. Well, we got up to 91 cents. So look at that. Let's take a look at what else we have going on here. I'm gonna redo some of this. Let's take a look at our. Let's go back to the bottom here. That's good enough. Look for a potential even move closer up to 95 cents if we keep going bullish from the fixed range volume here. I told you guys, I actually kind of like how far we pulled back. We pulled back already on Matic back to the golden pocket. This doesn't mean that I think Matic won't have a pullback if the rest of the space pulls back. I just think that Matic could potentially have gone through a lot of its pain before, and maybe it gets back down to this golden pocket. Maybe it goes a little bit lower, but I think Matic has kind of taken a lot of the losses it needs to take and is ready for more of a move to the upside, more so than other altcoins. Let's take a look at what ALGO is saying, though. Daily chart got some room to run in both directions. Currently under a weak sell order, which is why I'm not going to take this in too much credit. It was a 1, but you guys can see we're actually higher than when that sell order signaled. So I look at this stop loss as a more significant one. The stop loss coming in up to 92, didn't quite get there, all the way up to $1.06. Little much. I think it's more like we meet this red reversal somewhere in the middle here. Let's see what the order blocks are saying here. Big order block. We tapped into a little bit of it, but we could get as high as 95. And I remember I talked about 95 there as well with the 0.236 level, and that's our value area high, I do believe, is what I had at 95. So keep an eye on 95 cents the next little bit. Let's see what the oscillators are saying to us. Money flow. Well, it was going positive. It looks like it's keeling over a little bit right here. Let's see how the day closes, but it does look like it's turning over. But we do not have necessarily the bearish reversal. Again, we had one way back here, but we've had bullish flash since then, so that's kind of outdated. We definitely have room we can move to the upside. Let's see what the 4 hour is saying and see if what it – and hovering up top, but I like this. I like when we range above the 50. That's actually very bullish. Money flow is negative, but we did just get bullish momentum. Yeah, this is one I'm gonna go ahead and just say this is not necessarily a strong. I wouldn't be trading this right now. If you want a long-term hold for that 95, do not be surprised to see a pullback back down towards some of these order blocks, 88, 85 cents, 80 cents before that move to 95. But I do think in the next couple of weeks, based off the daily chart, 95 cents could look intriguing, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of days we do see a little bit of a pullback here on Matic before that bigger push to the upside.
Speaking of,
there is your TAT Shroom. Yeah.
Speaking of altcoins, real quick, I know we're over time, but I was just looking at the Injective chart. It really reminds me of Caspa, right? Injective here on a similar time frame. If I had to line them up perfectly, then you can see them. But you know, they kind of peaked out here between November 2023 November, and then have been kind of flagging ever since. Now, one thing is you'll notice Injective has not had this green God candle like Caspa has. Could that be coming, or could this be the end of Injective? I'm not the end of Injective, but you know, the sign of a price movement down for Injective. I'm kind of leaning towards this could be positive for Injective, and they're going to get a bid here pretty soon.
Well, just because you think that, I think that it's really bad for Inject. I'm just kidding. I did see the MACD on your chart. It did show it. Look, we're about to get a bearish cross. Pull it back up.
Yeah.
Does look like Injective is about to cross bearish on the MACD there on that weekly chart. That's
no bueno.
It's not the bueno you want to see versus, Caspa going bullish. But, of course, we're talking about the weekly chart. Weekly chart, we're talking about the next couple of months, not necessarily the next couple of days. Yep. I'd be more interested to see what the daily chart looks like. Again, I think that there's a decent chance. I want to see what happens when Bitcoin gets to 53, but we're not that far from 53. 53 is a significant level of resistance we talked about months ago. There is a chance we could be getting a pullback coming. And again, it's not just us talking about that $32,000 level. A lot of experts have kind of made some scenarios that still play out to a big dip coming in Bitcoin. And I don't see a scenario where the alts move to the upside while Bitcoin has a big dip. If Bitcoin goes down, watch for alts to go down as well in a more significant fashion. We talked about the Bitcoin dominance yesterday. It is down today to 53.64, but that's just a normal little pullback. Let's talk about when the Bitcoin dominance drops back below 50, and we've been seeing bullishness happen. We then have the case to talk about a true bull market happening. Until then, we have to be prepared. Guys, that's all I have for you in today's video. Hopefully you guys had an absolute blast. Reach out to us again, Blackie Chan and Stay Lifted TX. Reach out to us over on Discord to get a hold of your $100. Thank you so much, everyone. Go ahead and smash that like button on your way out if you have not already. Hit that subscribe button. Get us to 9,000 so we can give away another $100. And we will see you guys tomorrow for our Friday shows. Once again, adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA, shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms News got the word, doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better than cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.